Welcome to FDA Imports, cross-border compliance with attorney Benjamin L. England.
Hello and welcome to FDA Imports, cross-border compliance with attorney Benjamin L. England. Thanks for being here. On last episode, we talked about food, and we're going to do a part 2 today, food, particularly on labeling because it's complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and Ben's the guy to talk to about these moving parts and the complexities. So Ben, welcome back.
Thanks. Great to see you, Kevin. Great to see you.
All right, you too. We're gonna kind of expand on our labeling today. So we talked a little bit about mistakes people make on the labeling. Quick refresher: what are the typical mistakes people make
on labeling? There are two kinds of mistakes, and we're going to today talk about the second kind of mistake. But from last week, we talked about the technical requirements in labeling, the basic technical. We didn't get to we could talk for literally hours.
I'm sure.
I've got people who work for me. We do food labels reviews all the time, and they can actually get through them pretty quickly because they do it all the time.
Yeah, they know what to look for.
Right. So most of the technical issues in the food are going to have to do with what's on the front panel. Are there certain things that are required? And then what's on the side panel, the information panel, certain things required. That's where your nutritional supplement or nutritional facts panel is, the big white box that's on every. Now, it could be a smaller box. There's rules in terms of the packaging size. You can use different formats depending upon how big the product is, how big how much labeling real estate is available to you on the package.
Yeah, I know I'm getting older, but sometimes I feel like I need a magnifying glass to read anything that's on some of those.
Right, because there's font sizes, right? You're allowed to go down to a certain font size. Then there's also questions about whether or not certain information is reasonably legible. That's your point, right? So you're on the front label and you're manufacturing or you're selling a strawberry cheesecake, right? Now, first of all, it has cheese in it. It might have a USDA permitting issue that we have to worry about. We talked about that because there could be some dairy protein that's in there to worry about. So that's USDA. But it's a strawberry cheesecake. Well, is everything in there a natural flavor? Is it actually natural? Is it strawberry? Or, what's in there? Well, if you have artificial color, maybe you have not red 3, right? Remember, red 3 we'll talk about red 3 in another episode.
Yeah, that's banned. Yep.
Yeah, but it's not, it has red food coloring in it. Well, it might be an artificially, flavored or artificially colored strawberry cheesecake. Well, that artificial word, nobody wants that to be big. They want it to be little. Right. Right. But the brand of the product, my FDA Imports strawberry cheesecake, my brand's this big and the artificial.
Yeah, totally.
The FDA says, no. Anything that's required needs to be like at least half the size of the big thing. That's the rule of thumb. It's not a regulation. Right. But that's how people get into trouble. That's a technical issue related to those kinds of things. The backside is where technically how you declare your ingredients, how you do your manufacturer, packer, or distributor. You don't have to declare all three. You can declare the manufacturer or the packer or the distributor. So you can say distributed by Kevin and I made it. That way Kevin never reveals who I am to the consumer. They can't go around you and buy it from me. Those are all the technical misbranding risks. Today, claims, right? Well, what's a claim? A claim is going to be any statement that you're making that qualifies the nature of the goods or potentially increases its value or minimizes information that perhaps is sort of negative about your product. Well, like what? Well, low in fat, right? Well, why would someone make that claim? Because they want to attract people who are trying to not eat so much fat. Well, if it's low in fat, it better meet a certain standard, because if it doesn't, it's misbranding. In fact, it's false and misleading, right? Low in fat, no sugar, 0 sugar. Right, that's a claim. Healthy,
heart healthy, yeah.
Heart health, yeah, healthy. Now that's a health claim, right? Yeah. So there are nutrient content claims, right? This is a claim about the nutrient content of the food. Good source of vitamin D. Well, what's that? Well, what that means is that in a serving, if you eat a serving of that food, you're going to receive at least 10% of vitamin D for your daily value, because it's a good source claim. If you say excellent source of vitamin D, 20%, you better have 20% vitamin D in the serving of that food.
And these are technical requirements. Like if you use this word, this percentage must be met.
It's in the reg. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So those are nutrient content claims, and I use the vitamin D. Now, with antioxidants, a with claim is a good source claim. With vitamin D is just like saying good source of vitamin D. So with antioxidants, what's that? It's weird. What's antioxidant? Is antioxidant a nutrient? No, it's nutrients have antioxidant effect. Antioxidant is probably a function claim, right? The food gives you an antioxidant, it delivers antioxidant effect, but it's not really a nutrient. So like these claims are tricky, right? As to what they actually are. And you got to get them right. Now, I'm going to talk about natural in a moment. But the reason you have to get them right is the biggest risk that companies have. And this is not, by the way, just a risk to U.S. companies. It's anybody in the supply chain, including foreign suppliers, foreign manufacturers, foreign distributors exporting to the United States. If the label's wrong in a way that reduces the value of the food, if the label had been right? So I'm selling an organic, chickpea soup, which is made up, right? And it's not organic. Well, that's a problem because I probably can charge about 20% more for my organic chickpea soup than you can for your conventional chickpea soup.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So if it turns out that my organic chickpea soup is actually conventional, or it doesn't have the percentage necessary to reach a full organic claim, which is like 95 to 100% organic, you can have with organic ingredients, or there's different kinds of organic claims. But if I say organic, it better be organic. And if it's not, and someone figures it out, guess what's happening? I'm getting sued, right? I'm getting sued in a state that favors consumer plaintiff class actions, like California. I'm going to get sued in California. I might get sued in New York also. I might get sued in New Jersey. I could get sued in Florida. I could get sued sort of all over the place. It could be a nationwide class action because all these consumers, they bought your product and paid that money because it was organic, and you ripped them off. I ripped them off, not you. I'm the one selling them.
Yeah, no, I'm the good guy here.
You're selling the conventional. Yeah. Yeah, right. So there's a real meaningful risk that these claims can produce litigation if you don't get them right. But they're very valuable. So you should make them if you can. You don't want to shy away from a claim that's a legitimate claim.
Right. Yeah. You just got to get it right.
Yeah. So organic is sort of a classic sort of, it's a value of the food that's about the condition of the food and how all the ingredients have been handled and treated. They've all been treated in an organic fashion. So certain chemicals are not allowed to come near it, be anywhere close to it. Of kosher, there's an example. Halal. It's another standard. That means something, right?
Right.
Now, FDA doesn't actually regulate those things. Now, but it can be false or misleading. If your product is not kosher and you call it kosher, there is no FDA definition for kosher, but there is a definition for false, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So that's a false or misleading statement. FDA has jurisdiction over false claims on food, even if it's not really in their jurisdiction. They could come after the organic claim, even though USDA regulates organics, not FDA. Health claims, there's different kinds of health claims. There are qualified health claims. They're just flat out health claims. Certain things are just known to be good for you. Certain things are known to be sort of bad for you too. When you make a health claim, a couple things happen. It might be that you had some exemptions in terms of your nutritional labeling because it didn't contain it doesn't contain sort of enough nutrients in order for you to be required to put the full panel in. There's different sort of exemptions that allow you to use smaller templates in your nutritional facts. If you make a health claim or a nutrient content claim, those exemptions are gone. You have to comply with the full labeling requirements with respect to nutrients. So when you use a claim, it has impact on other declarations on the label. So you've got to keep those things sort of straight.
Yeah, they got to kind of be married. They got to work together.
Yes, because
each other. Yeah.
A lot of times people who are watching they want a lot of vitamin D. They might be worried about issues with respect to fat content or cholesterol content or calcium. They would probably be interested in calcium. So there's nutrient content claims. There's different kinds of health claims. Health claims are very strictly regulated by regulation. FDA has to actually expressly permit a health claim. So you can't say it's good for your heart unless FDA has already said you can say it's good for your heart, right? You can't make those kinds of claims. Healthy for you, let's say my brand is FDA Imports Healthy Foods, okay? And I'm selling you, a soda in a can that's got a lot of sugar in it, but it's FDA Imports Healthy Foods canned soda, right? I could have a problem with my brand.
Yeah.
I would argue I'm not making a claim about my canned soda. That's the name of my company. Right. And people know the difference. They can tell that. They can look at the back.
Healthy Choice, right? Isn't that a brand of TV dinners or I'd say TV dinners, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. It's actually sort of, yeah. Now in those kinds of circumstances, the brand is very careful to make certain, because they also have different categories in terms of the kinds of foods. So they're helping you select foods for your diet. Mm-hmm. And so So, but that is a good example. If they were to sell you, a chocolate bar that's just loaded with trans fats or whatever, and it was healthy choice, they could have a problem. They also have a problem with their brand because their customers would be probably pissed off at them.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Now, there's another group I want to get into a little bit here in terms of claims, and that's the word natural. Now, what is natural? What do people think natural is? And it really depends on who you ask. A lot of people think different things about what natural is. And it turns out that the Food and Drug Administration, that there is a regulation that deals with natural flavorings, but that's the only place the word natural is defined in food and drug law. It's actually not even defined under USDA rules. There are USDA guidelines, USDA standards, and then there is an FDA policy. But the FDA policy is really for the FDA to tell you whether or not they might take issue with your natural claim, and therefore they might make you change it because it's false or misleading. And it's a policy that basically comes down to, does it contain any synthetic material, any synthetic chemicals, or does it contain any preservatives, chemical preservatives, or does it contain anything that a consumer would not reasonably expect to be in the food? Well, that's a broad one. If it contains any of those three, then it's not natural from FDA's perspective. Now, that's not a rule. It's not a federal rule. It's no state rule. Some states have rules. Some states have different rules about what natural is. And it really matters because FDA imports all natural foods, which is the name of my company, right? And I'm selling you something that has chemical preservatives in it, or it has an acidulator, a chemical acidulator, citric acid. What am I doing in my citric acid? One of the things I might be doing is enhancing flavor. Well, my citric acid could be derived from natural sources. I could have gotten it from lemons, right? Extracted it, in which case it's not synthetic. It could be that I'm enhancing flavor, but I'm not preserving the food with it. So it's not a preservative, right? And when I look at the food, would the consumer be surprised that there's citric acid enhancing the flavor in my food? Well, that's the one that kind of almost nobody knows, right? But I might be able to make an argument that my all-natural food is still natural, even though it has citric acid. Citric acid is a known preservative, right? So that's where people come in and say, we think that you have a chemical preservative in your food and you're calling it natural, right? I've had clients who make fruit, canned fruit, and they put it in a juice. Well, what's the juice? I've had situations, in fact, some well-known cases, actually, that are not my cases, but that have sort of followed the cases where the juice that's inside the can is not 100% juice. They have some other stuff in it, but they say with juice, packed in juice. Well, juice means something, right? It means that you don't have some stuff in it, right? Juice means 100% juice. And it wasn't 100% juice because it had some citric acid or had some malic acid, it had something in it, it was preservative. This is where it goes. Big, expensive lawsuits. So it's important. You want to make a natural claim, but you want to make sure you do it correctly. You want to make an organic claim, but you got to do it correctly. Now, FDA will not challenge your organic or your natural claim at the border. They just won't. They might challenge your nutrient. In fact, they will challenge your nutrient content claim if it's wrong. And if the label might tell you it's wrong. You may say it's with vitamin D, which means it has to have at least 10% of the daily value of vitamin D in a serving. And you look at the side, at the back, and it says right there it's got 5%. Well, it's wrong on the label.
That's mislabeled, yeah.
Yeah, for two reasons, right? So you've got a false or misleading charge there. So FDA will look at the border. They'll look for the nutrient content claims. They'll look for health claims. They will look for claims about whether things are artificially or naturally flavored. They will not challenge whether your food is natural, and they will not challenge whether your food is organic, because they actually don't know. They don't have any evidence to challenge.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, I could see that. I get that.
I mean, they could, right? They could look on the back of it, and there's so many chemicals in it that the word natural could pop off at them.
Right. It's really obvious. How do you help companies navigate this? How do you help companies ensure that they're not mislabeling in these ways?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, and that's one of the reasons we do podcasts, is to get information out there for you can come talk to us. So we do food label reviews. We do claims reviews. You can have this problem on your website and not on your label. If you sell that food on the website and there's a little click here to buy, that website is your label. So if you say natural or organic or not artificial, no artificial flavorants, you put something on there that's wrong, that's a labeling violation, even though it's not on your label.
On the actual product.
So we look at them at clients' labeling and their labels. The label is what's on the product. The labeling is all the things that's written that are around the place where you sell it, like a website, and that accompanies the food at the point of sale. And so we help them make sure that their claims are correct. And we tell them the risk of this claim or that claim, or the risk of FDA having a problem with it, or litigation risk. And we do that I have clients that have had problems, foreign manufacturers that get drawn into lawsuits because they sell to a major big box store that got a letter because there's a labeling violation. Mm-hmm. And they get pulled into that action. So it's really important to get it right.
Yeah, it is really important to get it right. And I mean, so you do label reviews. So people will hire you to say, all right, can you make sure where everything's right good here and all that. And then they can also come to you after the fact when they're like, hey, we got a violation.
Oh yeah, if they have a problem, we can help them solve the problem as well. Sometimes we can get FDA to even allow us to, if there's a problem that's sort of innocuous, it's not really a big problem. There are times that we can get FDA to allow us to ship the goods this time, get a release with comment, and we'll fix it next time.
If
and
that happens, like a major violation or something.
Yeah, if it's something that's not really a health risk, it's a safety issue, it's not really a big problem. Or we disagree with them and we're willing to have that discussion with them later, then we do that later. So, but we can help before. We prefer to help you before. But it's more expensive to help you later, but we can help you later too. I mean, I act as
isn't it?
Yeah, I act as an expert witness in cases that sometimes involve labeling and dietary supplements. In fact, even in the question of what's natural. So I've been deposed many times on issues like this. So come to me. I'm happy to explain the situation to you and look at your labels, and we'll look at your marketing and make sure your websites are all good, and it should be, you'll be happy, and I think you'll be grateful that things will go more smoothly.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this again?
So I started with the FDA in 1986, but I was in the lab. And then when I got into the compliance space was around 1990. And so I've been in the compliance space and then became an attorney and practicing. I left the FDA in 2003. So I've been representing clients all over the world for over 20 years, but I've been doing it for 35 years, right? Almost, I guess. Yeah, I've seen a lot.
Yeah, you clearly know your stuff. That's for sure.
I've argued with the FDA about everything you can imagine.
Everything.
I've won some and I've lost some.
Yeah. So I'll bet. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to FDA Imports Cross-Border Compliance with attorney Benjamin L. England. To connect with Ben, head to FDAImports.com. And of course, please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Ben, always great chatting with you. Thanks so much for all the insight.
Likewise. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.